It's Car-Boyz! Hello. Yes, we are back. How are you? I hope you had a good week. Welcome one and all to the programme. Simon, you're looking like you're looking slimmer. What's been going on?
Really?
Yeah, is that the closure of the local chip shop?
Yeah, possibly.
Closure of the local chip shops. That's a disappointing thing. Yes, hello one and all. Welcome to the...
Should be opening up again.
Well, fingers crossed. I'll have extra COVID on mine. Welcome to the programme. Hope you all had an exciting week. Thank God I've got this show, or I will be going mad, or I should say madder. Coming up, yes, it's episode 46. It's all going to be about cars. Well, you would expect nothing less from us. Also, 46 is the number of chromosomes in the human body. We're going to be a lot more human on the show now, which means I'm going to shout a lot less at Simon, I promise. No, I shall continue to berate him mercilessly. Plenty of stuff coming up on Car-Boyz this week. You could say it's like a London bus before the coronavirus, jam-packed. I shall be having my usual rant and rail against the dying of the light. We shall be offering all the fake news we can muster in the news. And I focus on an absolute unsung hero in our classic car selection. This week, we take a trip stateside and look at a car that was the last of a dying breed, the last big land yacht from Lincoln, the Mark 8. And talking of a man whose acronym is Ford, fix often and repaired daily, here's Simon, live from the exclusive and salubrious neighbourhood of Edmonton. Is it feeling very exclusive in your gated community this week, sir?
Yes, they're only letting in the right kind of people into the area, which pretty much includes anyone with a pulse.
It's Edmonton.
It is. As Richard is saying, welcome to the show, our friends. We hope you had a productive week watching Netflix and drinking your own body weight in vodka. Coming up on this week's show, we'll be answering all your questions and queries in the mailbag, and we'll be giving you a couple of great driving roads in the Lost Highways. And we have an exciting competition this week. This week it is the unusual road signs.
Okay. Unusual road signs.
Unusual road signs. Signs you wouldn't normally see across Europe, mostly. So lock in and load. Prime the charges and enjoy an hour or so of petrol fuel craziness. I'm Simon Suzwan and my oven's on high. When I roast the quail, tell Bill Clinton to go and inhale, exhale. Now you felt the funk in the tie. Want to feel the effects. I want to get high, so high. I want to get high, so high.
Wow.
High.
It's just like Cypress Hill, we're in the room. Simon Suchiwan there, who, as you can see, likes to roll his own. And I'm Richard Green. I'm going to take you down because I'm going down to Strawberry Fields. Nothing is real and nothing to get hung about. Strawberry Fields forever. Of course, a lovely Beatles song there about picking your own fruit and veg in the greater Liverpool area. And this is Car-Boyz.
Car-Boyz.
Welcome to the show. Welcome back. Time now on my show for my weekly rant where I wax lyrical about some rubbish or other in a bid to strike a blow for the common man. And you can't get more common than myself. Now, back in the 60s, beatnik folk songstress Joan Baez sang, "Where have all the flowers gone? Long time passing. Where have all the flowers gone? A long time ago." Well, I don't know where they went. Maybe the florists ran out. Maybe there was a drought and they all died off. We just don't know. Well, anyway, just as Joan wanted to know about the loss of innocence and youth and the horror of war, I too am horrified. I'm horrified by the lack of space. My 2020 folk cry and rant this week is, where has all the boot space gone? Now, when I was a kid, the boot of a car or the trunk seemed massive and you could fit an entire family into it. My dad's 1978 Ford Cortina would take a family of 3 easily, or so it would appear. Nowadays, it seems as if for the normal sedan or saloon car, that space in the trunk is getting smaller and smaller as we're all being encouraged to buy a people carrier the moment we have a family. Or why not buy 2 SUVs, one for the beach, one for the city. Of course, both will never go off-road and you'll be used for picking up Jacob from football practice and Hermione from ballet. You can see I'm a family man, but I'm also a man. And if I have to drive a Citroën Picasso or a Renault Spastique, I will literally put a bullet between my eyes. The last vestige I have as a man, a 20th century unreconstructed bloke, is to drive a big-ass sedan with a huge engine. But what it needs for me as a dad is to be a bit of a taxi and have space to store my stuff. Now, the reason I'm moaning or bemoaning the loss of trunk space is that last week I watched the new Netflix movie, The Irishman. It's very long and people in it are far too old to play the roles they're playing. But that aside, it's a tale of gangsters, union bosses teaming up to keep crime as organised as possible. Whatever you do, don't annoy the boss or he'll decorate the walls with you. But I digress. In one scene, the anti-hero of the piece, which is Robert De Niro, no less, takes a suitcase and places it into the trunk of a car. And then he takes another suitcase, and then another suitcase, and then another suitcase. The suitcases seem to be disappearing inside the trunk of this car faster than a morbidly obese child can consume a all-you-can-eat pizza menu. This car consumed the amount of luggage I have never personally ever seen put into the trunk. And I thought, that's the car I need. I really need a 1972 Buick Electra with 225 custom limited. I looked at the thing on the internet. This truck has a capacity of 586 litres. Plenty of room to fit the body or two of a mobster who crossed Johnny 2 times or something. To put that into perspective, the Buick Electra 225 Custom Limited takes 586 litres. The Range Rover Evoque has a mere 472 litres. And I know which car would look meaner on the road, and it ain't the soccer mum Land Rover. I want my car to look like a silver shark, not a giant egg filled with children and sick. But it's not that simple. I used to drive a Honda Civic Coupe from the USA. It had a boot the size of 365 litres, which seemed to be massive at the time, but that was before children. Now I've seen and driven the new Civic, a hatchback, and its boot seems a lot smaller. But in fact, it's 478 litres. That's 3 times bigger than on my giant... Sorry, that's not. It's 3 litres, I should say, bigger than my giant Honda Accord. Now, I think the issue isn't the actual size of space, but the practicality and the fact that boot space is now sort of hidden underneath the car. The boot takes more luggage than before, but it looks like it takes less. Now, recently, I've been doing a lot of running. I've not had anything else to do during lockdown. And I've noticed that car boots on saloons have become progressively smaller and smaller. As I jog around the leafy streets of southwest London, cars in the 1990s and before that had a long nose and an equally huge extended rear. They looked in proportion somehow. They look good from all angles. Also, you could just open the boot and chuck stuff inside. A taxi ride to the airport for 4 adults could be managed in a large saloon car. Now you need to get a people carrier to get all the luggage in. And that's the problem we have. More boot space in theory, but much of it is completely impractical. Before we had a spare box that would literally take square things. Now it's more of a kidney-shaped oval and that slides luggage underneath rear seats. And the fact that parking is more difficult with a longer car, I sort of get that, but it doesn't really wash, as most modern cars have parking sensors anyway. Aside from this, I think older cars with a big boot look aesthetically better. A car with a huge bonnet or a hood looks great with an equally long trunk. Look at the old 1970s Jaguars, look at the Ford Scorpio from the 1990s, 1970s Mercedes W124, the proportions are correct. Now, if you look at a new Mercedes, a C-Class saloon, it looks as if half the rear end is missing. After all, would we all really like J-Lo without a rear end? I'm not sure. You can see the bottom, I've got the old one, and on the top, I've got a new one, and it just looks weird. Here's the 2 Mercedes, one from the 80s at the top, at the bottom, W124, and on the bottom, and on the top is the brand new C-Class. And I think that looks better in proportion than that. So come on, car designers, let's have huge trunks back. It's where dads like me can hide the weekly shop, but still try and pretend we're cool. And it's where gangsters can stuff the body or two of a union boss who didn't toe the line. Simon, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely right. So boot space is getting smaller. It's what they call, it's 3-box saloon. So you could actually literally draw it as 3 boxes.
Yes, it's like as a child would draw a car.
Yeah, exactly. And that seems to be disappearing. I don't know whether it's for, I don't know whether it's to try and increase interior space, because it's not really increasing interior space at all. And my car I drive an R56 Mini, and I have a tiny boot. I can literally fit a pair of shoes and a couple of bags of shopping. That's about it.
But you're young, free, and swinging, and
this is also true.
So you probably don't need to get a car seat and some plastic bags to carry the plastic bags that you put the sick bags in, and a potty and all this sort of thing. Well, I hope not yet. That'll be next week. That'll be next week. You need all that. I just don't think. Yes. I think cars. I keep looking at the rear end of cars. Now I understand with this, you are hiding half the boot space underneath. It shoots in. Sorry, there. Yeah. It shoots underneath there. Whereas with this from the 80s, you didn't. It was literally a block. But I think that looks crap. I think that looks weird.
Yeah.
And it's like, it seems to be encouraging us. I mean, and we know the story. Ford are going to stop producing everything but pickup trucks. So all their saloons are going to be gone. They're going to produce pickup trucks and small cars, hatchbacks.
I did see one of the last Scorpios actually yesterday when I went out for a walk, and it unusual as it was at the time, I think it's different. It's a gangster car.
It definitely is. Should we have some news?
Let's have some news.
Here we go.
And first off, this week, this is also quite funny because you don't know this, but we heard that music at the start of the show.
Yes. We messed up slightly.
Yes, just a bit. First off, this week in Boy, we're up Poop Creek with Out of Paddle news. Fewer than 200 cars were built. So that's 200 cars were built in UK factories during April lockdown. That's a 99.7% collapse on the lowest level since the Second World War. Wow. A massive drop from 71,000 the same month a year earlier as plants were forced to close during the coronavirus pandemic, or Cortina-19 as we lovingly call it. A total of 197 cars left Britain's factories. I wonder which ones those were, all of which were premium luxury and sports cars. So they seem to be the only people that have got money to spend at the moment on those cars, that were produced in limited numbers and had been assembled prior to shutdowns, with only finishing touches needed, apparently, according to the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders. And most UK car plants had down tools ahead of Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Remember him, he's in hiding at the moment. Initial lockdown announcement, which was on the 23rd of March. While outputs were down by just 0.8% that month, the full brunt of the coronavirus pandemic had been felt by the vehicle markets in April. Of the 197 cars produced, 152 were for the export market, and the remaining 45 for buyers in Britain. So if you're one of the 45, yes, that's
do we think they're speaking Arabic and are called Mr. Habib?
Possibly.
Are we talking a Middle East market, and they're all basically Bentleys, Rolls Royces, and bespoke Range Rovers.
And they need boot space in their cars as well. Obviously.
They do, to get all those dead bodies. I don't know what the answer is. Do we resume production? Do we continue to quarantine? Should we podcast the trademark Cortina-19 now before somebody else does? I think we should do that. Yes, moving on. And in good news, finally, for the British, but bad news for the Spaniards news, Nissan says the car making in Europe will be centred at its Sunderland plant as it announced the closure of the Barcelona factory. Japanese firm will close plants in Spain and Indonesia as it sank into the red for the first time in 11 years after the coronavirus pandemic sent global demand plunging and halted production. Workers have been protesting outside the factory in Barcelona, I think last Friday and last Thursday. Nissan chief Mako Uchida said production in Europe will be centred at the British plant as it reduces. And let's say they are not manufacturing plants; these are assembly plants.
Yeah.
as the brand reduces its global production and the number of model offerings by 20% by 2023. Now, reports emerged earlier this month that some Renault models, namely the Captur and Kadjar SUVs that are currently built in other countries, would be shifted to Sunderland as well, as bosses look to improve efficiency. Renault owns 40% of Nissan shares, and the two companies operate a strategic alliance of their respective production facilities. The good news for the Sunderland follows a time of uncertainty for the Northeast factory. I think it's been there nearly over 30 years. It's been under threat for years. The factory, which is the biggest single car-making facility in the country, employs 6,000 workers. They make the Qashqai, or as we like to call it here on the show, the Kumquat, and the Duke, both of which horrendous cars. Also the Leaf model, which is an equally disgusting car. It also produces a small output of the Infiniti models. Now, second largest vehicle producer in the UK behind Jaguar Land Rover, churning out about 350,000 cars in 2019. The news comes at the expense of Nissan's Spanish manufacturing plants in Catalonia, which is predicted to result in the loss of 3,000 jobs. Nissan spent much of the last year trying to patch up its tarnished reputation, of course damaged in November 2018 with the arrest of former chairman Carlos Ghosn over financial misconduct allegations. He was the chap that disappeared to Lebanon or was smuggled out of Japan. This is got to be a first I've ever heard. The UK is usually the first place they shut down production. When Peugeot threatened to shut down the old Talbot factory in Brighton-on-Dunsmore in Coventry, the French workers went on strike on our behalf because they thought it was a more productive factory than the factory in France. So it is good news. Sad news for the workers in Indonesia and in Barcelona. But let's face it, Nissan has been making terrible cars for a long time.
But it also tells you something that they're the second largest vehicle producer in Britain behind Jaguar Land Rover.
Yeah,
that's
that's frightening. And the fact that effectively, these factories exist to give Japan access to the British market. That's why it's there. Yeah. So we manufacture the cars in England and we will get access to Britain because of that. And we say manufacture, but we really mean assemble. Every single Honda Jazz that you drive is assembled in Rayong in Thailand, but they're made in Japan. It's just cheaper to assemble it somewhere else. And it gives you access to the Japanese Southeast Asian market. So good news for the Brits.
More news now, and I really like this story. And the name's Bond, James Bond. Or I could do it as James Bond. James Bond.
Imagine you're Scottish and you've got that shameful's teeth that are about to fall out.
Or apparently, if you want to do Pierce Brosnan, you have to go. The name's Bond, James Bond. It's very, very James Bond.
Yes.
Aston Martin begins production with its £3.3 million reborn DB5 classic from the Goldfinger 007 film, fitted with a full quota of Bond gadgets. More than half a century after the last one rolled off the production line, Aston Martin has begun production of an exclusive limited customer run of 25 classic DB5s. They'll go to the other 200 that are being sold, cars that are being sold because people aren't buying cars. 25 classic DB5s, each costing £3.3 million, complete with most of the gadgets that were made famous when driven by Sean Connery in the movie Goldfinger. The British brand made the announcement just days after it showed its former boss, Andy Palmer, the ejector seat, and promoted former Mercedes AMG frontman Tobias Moores to 007 status. This was part of the boardroom purge after Aston Martin's share price collapsed. Dubbed the most famous car in the world, fewer than 900 original DB5 saloons were built between 1963 and 1965, and they were at the time priced at £4,175. The DB5 was featured in 6 subsequent 007 films after debuting in Goldfinger. Beautiful, beautiful car. They were Thunderball, GoldenEye, Tomorrow Never Dies, Casino Royale, Skyfall, and Spectre. Typeworm, Corgi's version of favourite, was the favourite of the children and the collectors today. They love the gun, totting a villain ejected through the roof. It was always getting lost. I've got a Vanquish that does that, the roof comes up and the ejector seat comes out. The nearest nod to the ejector seat in this car is a removable passenger seat and front roof panel. Machine guns and tyre shredders will be design features rather than working weapons, and it's not legal to drive on the road. It's being aimed directly at the wealthy collectors and enthusiasts, and each of the 25 cars have reportedly already been snapped up by well-heeled Bond and Aston Martin fans.
Now,
so,
it's a good car. I had one of these as a kid. And it had the panel, the bulletproof screen that popped up. Little man, the roof opened, the little man popped out, and it was very small and plastic and brown, and you couldn't really see it was, but he always got lost. He'd always go, where's the man gone? The guns fall out the front. The issue is, cars were prettier 40, 50 years ago than they are now. That's why everybody wants to drive one.
I did have a Corgi Aston Martin V8, I think the one in Living Daylights. It's the one with Timothy Dalton.
Okay.
As well, it's the one with Timothy Dalton and the skis come out of the side.
Nice.
That one.
Nice. But I just think if Aston Martin made a car that looked like the DB5, put airbags in it, I think it would be like the Mustang. If you could make that to a budget of £50,000 to £60,000, I'm not saying it's going to be the fastest thing in the world. There's no point. Where can you go fast in England? I think everybody would have one. It'd be like the equivalent of America relaunching the Mustang as they did 15 years ago. And they could not sell those things fast enough. They couldn't get them in fast enough, sorry. They were just flying out the door. If you made an Aston Martin to that budget, I think your problems will be all over.
And the thing is now, Aston Martin, part owned by AMG, all the mechanics are all AMG stuff, so don't see why not. I don't see why they can't do that.
Right, well, finally, talking of famous cars, who's got the most famous TV car news? Now, you want to know what's been voted the most iconic car of all time to appear on the small screen, according to British motorists? Well, the definitive top list of television motors has been put together by Boundless, a British group of almost 250,000 public sector workers, which began life back in the 1923 as the Civil Service Motoring Association. So here we go, our top 10 roundup of the most iconic cars that made their mark on British television. Not half. Rightio, coming in at number 10, it's the small TV car that kept the kids quiet from the people who brought you the Teletubbies. It's Birmingham's very own Brum. There he is. Meanwhile, at 9, take it talking car that helped Michael Knight stay the straight and narrow. Say yes to the big hair. It's David Hasselhoff and his whip, namely Kit. Yes, Michael. Meanwhile, bursting in at number 8 with a kaboom and a bam, a car driven by everybody from Adam West to Christian Bale. It may have started life as a 50s concept car, but ended up as a crime-fighting machine. It was the Batmobile. Holy mackerel, Batman!
Ooh.
The car came into its own. This car, at number 7, came with its own holder for your moustache, believe it or not. If you needed a crime solving on the island of Hawaii, this man would, this would be the mode of travel for this TV detective. Say aloha to Magnum PI and his Ferrari 308
Yes,
GTB.
look at that. Every inch a man.
At number 7, check out those white trousers. Long before Clint Eastwood immortalized this car in a movie, in the original 1970s TV show, saw a pair of cops take on the criminals from Bay City. A car was the Ford Gran Torino, and the show, of course, it was Starsky and Hutch. That was a great undercut of a car, that one, by the way. Nobody noticed you in that. Right, we're halfway there. At number 5, taking a starring role from a couple of good old boys flying the Southern Cross at a time it was still okay to do so. It's Bo and Lou Duke with a Dodge Charger, the General Lee, as the Dukes of Hazzard coming in at 5. Right, from the 1980s, we go all the way back to the 1960s. The man who should have been Bond, but instead became Speed. If I can find his picture here. Yes, of course, it was Patrick McNee, and I've lost the picture. It was a Bentley blower.
Oh.
He had a Bentley blower, which was a big green thing. And it
It
says,
was.
talk amongst yourselves.
Yay!
That was Speed, and
Bentley
that was
blower.
the Bentley blower. Where are we now? And talking of a Bond, a man who was made for the role comes in at 3. Although his original role was more sin-free than 007, Roger Moore was the Saint, and his car was the Volvo P1800. Number 2. Well, at 2 and not offering any money back or a guarantee. Those South London scamsters, Rodney, Dell and Grandad. The show, Only Fools and Horses. And the car, a little yellow Reliant Regal van.
Yay!
Excuse me. And finally, taking the number 1 spot, the most iconic car in British TV history. And the favourite son of Oxford, the detective who liked a pint and a jag. Come on, Lewis. It's Inspector Morse and his Mark II Jaguar. Britain's most loved TV car. Oh. That one. I came overall Alan Freeman. I was shocked. It's a good survey. Where was the Ford Granada of the Sweeney?
Yes.
Brum, really? It's not even a real car.
Who voted for this?
Was apparently the Association of Civil Servants Motoring. Really? It's a good car. I like it because it says Brum on it. But it's a talking car in a TV show. So
very clever. Brum being in Birmingham.
And of course, I think it is Ragdoll Productions, the maker of that, and the Teletubbies. If you're outside of, if you haven't seen Brum and you're in America, they made Teletubbies as well. So I was shocked to not see the Ford Granada of the Sweeney, Audi Quattro, Life on Mars, the TV show, and also I thought we're of a certain age, the Triumph Roadster of Bergerac. Can you remember that?
I do like that. That
was an iconic car, or possibly didn't Cat's Eyes, the detective show, which had ladies feature a
Leslie Ash, Jill Gascoigne.
I think Leslie Ash drove a Mini Metro, MG Mini Metro, which was a terrible car and unfortunately rusted from the bottom up. My cousin had one. Shall we have some classic car selection now on the show? I've lost all my
let's go for it.
I've lost all my paperwork because I was getting rather excited. So it may take me a minute. I have lost all my paperwork now. Hang on, I've got some of it back. Yeah, I know, it's terrible.
It's hidden under the Bentley blower.
It's hidden under the Bentley blower. And I've prepared everything. What we really need is a budget, and then this show might look a little bit smarter. Okay, we're back. We're back. It's because we're now operating in, is it 3 dimensions?
We're visual.
We're visual. Anyway, we're visual. We're 2-dimensional, which is what my wife always says about me. Time now for the classic car, the classic car selection on Car-Boyz. If I can get things working here, which I am having fun doing. Here we go. Classic car selection. Here's the jazz. Keeping those jazz saxophonists in cocaine and filterless cigarettes has been the bane of my life. And we've got a new sponsor on the show as well. I'll just show you now. It's called Grope.
Nice.
It's called Grope. Taste the fear of Grope.
Grope is it?
Grope really is. It's fantastic. If Grope would like to get in touch with the show, we will take sponsors from Grope. It's the Harvey Weinstein drink of choice. Okay, time now on Car-Boyz to leaf through the pages of time and dig out a car that's gone unrecognised for the true diamond in the rough it is. It's where we find the unloved and overlooked and give them a bit of a spit and polish and push them on to the classic car selection. Now, you may remember last week we had an email from Alex in Washington, D.C., who was thinking of buying his dad's super low mileage Lincoln Mark 8. And we said, yes, go for it, because we thought it would make a great vehicle for this section of the show as well. A Lincoln Mark 8 is a grand, and this is the first time we've done, I must say, a classic car selection from the US of A. So if you are listening in the US of A and we do mess this up, we do apologise. We're British. We don't know much about American cars. Now, the Lincoln Mark 8 is a grand touring luxury coupe marketed by Lincoln from 93 to 1998. Over a single generation, manufactured at Ford's Wixom assembly plant, it succeeded the Lincoln Mark 7. The Mark 8, though, shared the underpinnings, more excitingly, with the Ford Thunderbird, the Mercury Cougar as well. It also shared power with an all-aluminium 4.6 direct overhead cam 32 valve V8. It'll make your mouth water. This made the Mark 8 fly like a jet, despite giving away 15 horses to Cadillac's North Star Power Eldorado Touring Coupe. The Lincoln provided decisive, quicker, posting a 0-60 time in just 6.9 seconds versus 7.7 for the Eldo. But more than just a straight line go, the Mark set a new high for Lincoln roadability. Cornering was flat and stable, steering was fast and informative, braking swift and sure. It also featured a unique air suspension that lowered the car at highway speeds for greater stability. The only thing not to like about this was certain ergonomic details and less total space than expected in a car of this bulk. There isn't much room in the back. It was designed by the Ford genius Kyu Kim and codenamed the Stretch 1 because of its length, and original design had included pillarless coupe doors. This was axed in the final creation, but the car still retains a very futuristic modern look. It was a very 1990s vision of the future, but it also harks back to the 1970s. I'll show you a picture of the car. The right way up might help. And also the 1930s, when Americans produced massive land yachts that you could tell the world you'd made it as a man. And yes, most men drove these things. It wasn't until 1998 when the Mark 8 was discontinued without replacement, remaining the last model of the Lincoln Mark series. Now, it's so wide, I'm actually having problems getting this on screen. I think it is longer than a Lincoln Navigator. That's how long this thing is. What to look for when buying one of these things? Well, first off, a good one is certainly pretty hard to find and almost certainly impossible outside the USA. Sorry, Britain. The Lincoln Mark 8 is also over 20 years old, so check for general wear and tear, rust, etc., whether it's been in a prang. These cars are big, may have been in a collision, so check the engine bay and the boot to see the car is straight. The usual checks under the oil cap for mayonnaise and tailpipes for blue smoke. They got a couple of big issues, though, that are specific to this car. The electrics can be a problem. The rear brake light runs the width of the car. It's very pretty, but if it breaks, very hard to get a replacement. Also, there's the big one of these things is the air ride. That's got to have it of braking. So best get either a car that comes with or a conversion kit to change it to a coil spring strut suspension. Much more reliable. Now, we found these cars are cheap. They are very, very cheap for a car that has the Ford Mustang engine. We found a 1998 model, which is the last year, 40K on the clock. One owner, must have been an old granddad, no marks, in black, grey leather interior, very good condition, full service history, $8,000 in Dearborn, Michigan. That is an insane amount of money for a heck of a lot of car. So get one of these now before they become collector's cars. The Lincoln Mark 8, the last of the all-American land yachts. And the nearest thing I can... Go on.
Dearborn, Michigan is the headquarters of Ford. So maybe it was probably someone very senior there.
That's an idea, yes. So you would think, although the flip side of Michigan is it's cold, it's icy, it rusts. It's not a Florida car. But like buying a Ford Escort from Essex near Dagenham, you're pretty sure the thing is going to be serviced.
Yeah.
That's not the one, but I think that's a pretty looking car. If you want all the gadgets, if you want the sat-nav, you don't buy one of these things. But if you want a car that goes nice and fast, I think it's 20 in the city, 30 on the highway, not horrendous gasoline consumption.
Not too bad.
But a good looking car. And I've never driven one before. I'm led to believe very, very comfortable to sit in as well.
If I had one of those and the suspension needed changing, I would like to put hydraulics on there. That would be cool.
I think you're betraying your Latin Mexican roots. Would you replace the steering wheel with a chain link steering wheel? And I'll always be playing Carlos Santana. Santana and Cypress Hill as I go down the road. I think currently in America, you probably wouldn't want to be driving that car around. Shall we have some lost highways?
Yes, let's go for some lost highways.
Time now on the show for the lost highways. Now, this is our feature where listeners email in, give us their favourite roads. I'm actually working out, you should be reading this, but never mind. And the reason why they love them. It could be a two-lane coastal road that leads down to the sea. Alternatively, it could be a straight two-lane blacktop that leads to infinity and invites you to gun the pedal to the metal. Whatever your poison is, let us know your perfect driving roads here at Car-Boyz. God, sorry, I'm going to have to turn that off.
So let's do the first one. Carlos did exactly that, and he writes to us from Madrid, and he says one of his favourite roads is the Seven Lakes Scenic Drive in Patagonia. One of the easiest drives in Argentina, but one of the most spectacular is to rent a car in Bariloche, I'm guessing that is
Bariloche.
Bariloche. And then drive the...
Should I have written this phonetically?
It's fine. Bariloche. I don't know how many Argentinians listen or watch the show.
Very few.
Drive leisurely to the San Martin or San Martin further road north in the Patagonia Lake District. You will hug the shores of the Seven Lakes along the way and see the dramatic Andean peaks, either fully or partially covered with snow, depending on the time of year. This is truly one of the world's most scenic drives, and along the way you have plenty of chances to eat well and drink excellent wine, which is always good. We recommend an overnight stop in Las Balasas or the Luma Casa de Montana on the way there, or back if there's time to relax and take it all in. There's also opportunity to go skiing in the winter or go hiking in the warmer months. The route passes two national parks, the Nahuel Ahanape and the Laninin, which obviously I visit all the time. Naturally, there's plenty of options for taking out a boat and doing some fishing or just exploring by canoe or kayak. The whole drive is 114 miles, which is 184 kilometers. So you could easily do it all in a day, but you may hit some unpaved sections, so it's better not to be in a rush. Take a coat and a pair of walking shoes, as this may be Argentina, but you're in a cold part of the country, which is, of course, Patagonia.
Sounds interesting. I think the only reason I know Bariloche, my Spanish is not bad, but isn't that where the ex-Nazis went to live? I think there's a German town in Bariloche.
Yes, that rings a bell. Yeah.
I think there's lots of people going around 9. Yes. I think lots of people that like extras from Dr. Strangelove live there. But I hear it's very exciting. Not for me because it's too cold. Talking of which, Carl writes to us from Reykjavik. He says Iceland is a great place to drive. I don't know why I'm doing that accent. And off-road. It's a great place to come, lots of girls. He said there's a legendary ring road. It's called the Highway 1, which is original. It circumvents the whole island, connecting most inhabited parts of the country. It's 828 miles long, epic adventure, crosses desolate landscapes, majestic volcanoes, awe-inspiring glaciers, thunderous waterfalls, steaming hot springs. If you want to get the ultimate Iceland experience, doing a road trip around the ring road is the way to go. You start your trip in Reykjavik, you travel along the route clockwise past Akureyri and Húsavík, the whale-watching capital of Iceland, all the way back to the capital. An added bonus, if you go between September and April, there's a good chance you'll spot the magical northern lights illuminating the sky in the evening. Apparently if you want to, you can do the entire ring road in a day and a half, but you'll want at least a week to do it at a comfortable pace. That sounds like it was written by the Icelandic tourist board. You're more into cold countries than I hate cold. So have you been to Iceland?
I've not. That's one of the countries on my list, and I do want to go and see the Northern Lights.
Yes.
And stay in an igloo.
Okay.
They're really nice. They're glass igloos, though. They're made of glass, so it's like a greenhouse. So you get to sleep under the stars. Yeah.
Yeah, but what happens if you're taking a young friend with you? What are you supposed to do then?
Entertainment.
Would you maybe have the local Inuit people trying to peer at you while you get busy with the fizzy?
Yes.
One thing I've heard is very good there is there's the thermal. You can go. It sounds awful, but you go to the power station, which is it wouldn't be a great thing to do over here, and swim in the water of the power station. But the power station it sounds dreadful. Green, I'm actually not selling this. Yeah, go in the glow in the dark water. It's fantastic. Yes, that sounds good. If you want to get in touch with the Car-Boyz and suggest a lost highway that we haven't done before, email the boys, car-boys@outlook.com. Facebook us, car-boys at Car-Boys with 4 Zs. Twitter, we're car-boys at car_boys with a Z. And we're Instagramming at car-boys with 3 Zs.
With 3 Zs, yes.
Fantastic. Get in touch with the show. I think it's that time of the show. And I played the wrong music before, so shall I just play some different music? It doesn't matter. I think I'll pass carrying now.
That's fine.
Here we go. It's time to delve into something we like to call the mailbag. We open it up, take a look at the correspondence, and take a look at the scary world of the mailbag. Once again this week, it's fit to burst.
Readers' wives.
I should be right for readers' wives. And then she walked in wearing nothing but... Turn into Eric Morecambe. Charlotte from Canterbury says, "Hi, Car-Boyz. Hope you're good."
Hello.
We're good. Hi, Charlotte.
We're good.
Hi, Charlotte. Canterbury, very nice. I used to have a boss that used to live near Canterbury Cathedral, like right next to it. And he was very, very angry man because every Sunday he got woken up by the bells. And he did look like Quasimodo. Now, Charlotte's got a question. She's inherited a classic car from her dad, which is nice. A 1968 Citroen Ami 6-brake club. It's a bit tatty, but she said it's a lovely car. It's currently in the family house in the Dordogne. I don't think Charlotte's short of a bob or two. That's just a guess. She's called Charlotte. She has a family house in the Dordogne. Her question, she's not drinking cheapy water. It's all Perrier where Charlotte lives. Her question is, should she register the car over here or in France? She sent us a picture. It is a pretty car.
Like that.
I don't think that's tatty, but it might be a bit rusty under the wheel arches, and it could be a bit threadbare inside. So, the De Chevaux was the car that sort of launched the French motor industry. It's not a 2CV. It's nicknamed the Trois Chevaux, the 3CV.
3 horsepower.
3 horsepower. I would personally keep the car in France. It is a French car. It'll be left-hand drive. Keep it where it's happy. Parts are going to be cheaper. Mechanics are going to be cheaper. They know how to service it. It's also going to be suited to the streets of Dordogne rather than the UK, because this car is not going to do much more than I would guess 65 if the wind was blowing in the right direction. That's. I think they've got a 700cc engine up the other side under there.
Yes.
This car, Charlotte, as well. I hope your dad has kept it garaged because it needs to be garaged, even in the Dordogne. It's over 50 years old. My Citroen had a Dolly from the 1980s, which was a brand of 2CV. She used to park it outside, and it rusted away to nothing. It was an MOT failure. So this car in Britain will rust away if you keep this car outside. I think that is a pretty car. And if you're on holiday, why don't you just keep it at your dad's house? Every time you go down there, you've got a little crash car to mosey around about with some baguettes on top.
Put the wine in the back.
Wine, you could get very drunk and drive around and smash into things like Gérard Depardieu.
It's okay.
Qu'est-ce que c'est ça? Well, I worked in France for one summer as a security guard. And every day, the French police used to come to our office, and the 2 French outriders on motorcycles and said, can we park? Can we come and have lunch in your office? We've got nowhere else to have lunch. And we'd say, yeah, it's fine. We're going to say no to the French police, the gendarmes. They've got guns. And so the 2 motorcycle guys would get out. They'd put a beautiful white and red tablecloth down, and out would come the baguette, and so cheese, and so maybe a little meat, and the olives, and a whole bottle of wine. And between them, they would have a bottle of wine, and sometimes we'd find 2 empty bottles of wine. And then they get back in their cars. It's lunchtime. And they drive away. So I'm just saying, maybe a slightly more relaxed approach to drinking.
Oh dear, Charlotte, I'd say save yourself some hassle. and keep it registered in France. A lot easier. We now go to Adrian in Berlin, and he writes to us. He says, hello from the German capital. He gathers that the Car-Boyz have experienced driving a Trabant around the mean streets of his hometown. It's good fun. He's driven a Trabant before. He's driven Trabant before, and he loves them. Sticking with the Eastern Bloc theme, he's thinking of buying an old Russian Lada. A friend of his father's is selling one. It's a 1981 Lada Vaz 2101, originally from Eastern Germany. It's got super low mileage. Oh, nice. 57,000 on the clock, and it spent most of its life garaged in a lockup on the outskirts of the city. Now, his dad's friend is too old to drive, and he says he wants €3,000 for the car. It's rust-free, clean interior, good service history, no marks on the paintwork. Is this a good deal? There is a strange charm to those Ladas.
Of course, it was based. Was it based on the Fiat 124?
That's right, yeah.
So the machine parts from that. So it is a 1960s design, but all the Russians did when they bought the machine parts is upgrade everything. So it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a very agricultural to drive. I will warn you that. I've never driven one. My friend used to own one, and he said there's no power steering on this thing. It is a heavy, slow car. Now we had a look on the internet. Now 10 years ago, I wouldn't have given them €300 for one of these. Things are very different now. So there's a whole generation that don't remember the Cold War. They're about 30 now. They want to buy these things. Hipsters love them. Very solid. I've seen Ladas in good condition, £6,000 to £7,000.
Wow. So
what I do, because you are nearer the source of the Lada, you're in England. This is a bit of a rarer beast. You do still see them around in France. You see them all of them because obviously Lada are still manufacturing cars. I think they even manufacture this car in the Russian plant. I'd offer him €2,500. Even if you do pay £3,000, it's a bargain because that, my friend, from that period is an appreciating classic, and it's not a bad car to drive around.
I've been in a Lada. Choppy ride and back. I think it's got leaf springs in the back.
Yes, that sounds about right.
But a good laugh. It's an interesting drive.
Yeah, why not? Why not go for it? I think for you, otherwise you go and spend £2,500 on a very boring Toyota or a Honda or something that's not going to be as interesting as this car. I'm not sure the lady with the red bag comes with it. Hello. I'm not sure Svetlana comes with it. Maybe she does. We've had another email. Tony in Paris says, love the show. Thanks, Tony. She's going nuts in lockdown. Bored. Drinking too much Vin Rouge. We're back on the wine again.
The wine. We're on the wine.
She says her husband and her want to take a holiday after the coronavirus lockdown.
So do we all.
I said, well, yes, please. She fancies Malaysia. Should she use public transport, trains and buses? Should she fly? Well, you definitely fly to get there. Or should she head to the highway and hire a car? Tony, I used to live in Malaysia. It has the best of all 3 or 4 modes of transport. The buses are super efficient. They've got the aircon, big TVs. You can catch a sleeper bus from Butterworth in the north all the way down to Singapore through through KL. Now, the roads are amazing. Nice big highways. Back in the 70s and 80s, the Malays chucked loads of money into their transport network. So the roads are beautiful. In fact, from memory, they have in the central reservation of the motorways, they have plants. They have like beautiful.
Really?
Yeah, it's really weird.
Ooh.
It's like, this is very, very pretty. You don't get that on the ring road outside Birmingham.
On the M6.
No, exactly. That you've got trains and electric railways. They're very efficient. Planes cover the entire country. If you book in advance, they're super cheap as well. I went to Borneo from Kuala Lumpur for around $100. That's 1,000 miles for about $100. I booked it in advance, but they're very cheap. So if you're going to go from Peninsular Malaysia all the way over to the island of Borneo, you're going to need a plane. But I would say hire a car because you can get to places you can't get on public transport. It's the same anyway. The islands of Langkawi and Penang, they've got excellent roads, and you can get to top of volcanoes, down to isolated beaches if you do have a car. And safety-wise, Malaysia's quite safe. You're okay.
Good.
Even in KL, even in Kuala Lumpur. But if you get into an accident, don't admit any blame. The same as in insurance anywhere. Just keep shut and speak to the car hire guy.
I see. So there you go, Tony. Finally, we got an email from Carmine in New Jersey.
Hey.
He says, "You guys have to give more props to American cars and less to those small European things. How about featuring a big caddy Fleetwood from the 1970s? He drives a 1978 Cadillac DeVille with a Landau roof. That's hoping not Martin Landau.
Not Martin Landau.
And a 7-liter engine. But it only produces a wheezy asthmatic 200 bhp.
Look at that.
Huge vehicle. This is why we don't have these sorts of cars in Britain. They are like tanks.
I think my Fiat Panda was my first car, was smaller than
the bonnet.
This bit here, this bumper. I think my Fiat Panda didn't quite do that. That's a monster of a car. The thing is, you would have one over here if petrol wasn't twice as expensive as it is in America. And you could find some way to park this thing. You are never going to park this thing in London.
Not in London.
Two places, and our roads are a little bit too windy. But I can see it has a certain charm. I went to America for the first time in 1991, and I went in. See, these cars were not that old then. They were only 11, and I went in a lot of these things. And you could get about 8 people in the back of that. I'd go to parties.
Comfortable?
Oh, yes. Huge. Literally, you would get 5 or 6 people on the back seat.
It looks like one of those cars that when you stop at lights, they just continue to bob up and down.
Yes. I think
the suspension's probably that soft.
It would be very, very soft and luxurious suspension. Carmine, I'm hoping you like the Lincoln Mark 8 we just did, which was an homage to the land yacht of the 1970s. So hopefully, Carmine, hey, are you going to have to come around here and break a few effing heads, Carmine? So fingers crossed you're going to leave us alone. If you want to get your letters to us,
please suggest something.
All sorts of stuff. We email the Car-Boyz at car-boys@outlook.com. Car-Boys always with a Z. Facebook, we are car-boys with a Z at Car-Boys with 4 Zs. Twitter, car-boys at car_boys again with a Z. Instagram, where I don't think they show their bits on Instagram. Do they show their bits? No.
That's Snapchat.
Oh, damn. Okay, we'll get to that later on after we finish the show. TikTok, yeah. Instagram at car_boys with 3 Zs. Is it time for our quiz? I've been looking forward to it.
It is time for the quiz.
To hear.
Go for it. Go for the quiz.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. More cowbell.
Don't fear the reaper.
I know it's not a cowbell. It's just more like a pot and a wooden spoon, isn't it?
It is a very expensive. Actually, if I can turn it around, hang on. This is a really expensive, and I didn't pay my money for this. 1960s lamp.
Oh, it's a light.
I think it's an Eames. It's really expensive, and I bought this from the dump for £5.
Fantastic.
I looked it up on eBay, and it's about 150 quid. So we lucked in there.
Sounds like a saucepan.
It does. It has that. It's in a very green military colour, so I assume it was the British Army or something like that.
I'm starting to think it might be lead paint as well.
That's so good. I'm feeling fine. Bit chesty.
And of course, this is the big quiz this week. We look at those little metal things at the side of the road. Yes, that's right. It's road signs. As a country which hopefully is sensible, we here in the UK have relatively self-explanatory signs, but unfortunately, on the continent, this isn't the case. This week, as always, we have Richard from Southwest London. Hello, Richard.
Hi there. You're right. I'm very excited.
Fantastic. So we've got for you this week, all you have to do is tell us what does this collection of road signs mean. There's no multiple choice answers. I can give you a clue along the way. I'll give you bonus points where necessary.
Okay.
The prize for you this week is, of course,
Ooh.
a lifetime subscription to Car-Boyz, which is always good.
Fantastic. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
It is.
Well, as long as we keep making the show.
Eyes down, look in, especially if Grope sponsors us.
Hang on. Let's make sure. I think I've messed up Grope's can. Sorry, Grope.
Product. It says crap now.
It's crop. It's crop. It's gone from being Harvey Weinstein to Harvey Smith. I'm here all week, twice on Wednesdays. Enjoy the fish.
Fantastic. So, question number 1. Are you ready? Eyes down, look in.
Yes.
This road sign is from Slovenia, but what is it telling drivers?
So it's from Slovenia. It's not angry Soviet robot must always overtake car.
We've got a black car there.
A black car. So something's never overtaking it. No overtaking if you're towing a speedboat. No overtaking if you've got sort of Darth Vader helmet on in your car. Okay. I would say no overtaking if your car's too wide.
It's actually no overtaken by HGVs.
Okay.
The HGV is red, so no overtaking of HGVs.
But you could overtake in a larder.
Indeed. So no points there, but very funny. Question number 2. This one should be. This one's for the jazz band. We moved to Turkey.
No.
What can you not use in Turkey?
I believe no overtaking if you have Louis Armstrong also in the passenger seat.
Yes.
No, it's don't
on
use.
The right lines?
Yes, don't use your horn in this area. Just don't beat your horn.
Absolutely right. No use of horns, and that's if you're
actually.
in
If you turn it up the other way, does it look like a man stand? No, the other way. Does it? No, keep going. It looks like a little man.
Well, it does.
Yeah, but you wouldn't
That's
see
what
it that
happened
way.
to the saint.
He got a drink. He ended up as a road sign. He had erectile dysfunction in Turkey. He wanted one of those little blue tablets, mate. That'd sort you out.
Well done.
Right,
Don't use your horn in Turkey.
Yes,
question number 3. This unusual sign is from the Czech Republic. I'm going to do a catchphrase here. Say what you see. What should you be aware of?
Oh, silver-haired Roy Walker. Don't.
What's the car doing?
Driving into some lines, disappearing. Don't. Beware of going into a tunnel. Beware of going into a Nissan shelter. Beware of going into a Nissan hut on an airfield in Soviet Russia. Don't drive into these logs that were piled up inconveniently in the middle of the road. Beware of falling wood.
It's good, but it's not right. This is actually, you should be aware of fog. Apparently, fog.
I mean, what about a cloud symbol? If I was from the UK and hired a car, I'm driving around Cheshire Krumlov or somewhere, Czech Republic, I go, Jesus, I don't know about what these falling logs are, sweetheart, but there's fog everywhere. They didn't warn us about this. So keep an eye out there, Rich, for those falling logs. Oh, okay.
There you go. So that is the universal symbol for fog in the Czech Republic. So
not very universal,
not
is
right
it?
there.
Never mind. Okay.
No. Question number 4. We move over to Greece.
Oh.
They have this confusing sign. What does it mean?
Okay.
So it's in a red triangle.
So fallen. Beware of.
Say what you see.
Of subsiding church roofs. No entry.
No.
Road closed.
What's in the middle? What's
cross?
In the middle?
Beware crossroads.
Yeah. Approaching crossroads.
Approaching crossroads. Okay.
Well done.
Cool. Now.
Question number 5. It's over to our friends in Ireland.
Hello. This will be good.
See the sign. What are you approaching if you see this sign?
Brilliant. Yield. Firstly, that's what you see in the Irish. Don't give way. You yield on the floor every time you come up to a junction. Hey, yo, yield there, young man. We've got a railway, so we're warning people. We got a level crossing.
Yay, it's the right answer. Bing,
Fantastic.
tap on that light.
Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely right.
Or warning people there's some barbed wire coming up if you take a look. So there, but beware of the old barbed wire there. There might be some, but we're not sure.
It could be no braces allowed.
No braces allowed round here, I tell you that. The father won't hear of it.
So the right answer is of
Okay,
course
good.
you are approaching a
Fantastic.
level crossing. Number 6, we've driven on the roads of Germany in a Trabant.
We have.
We didn't see one of these signs, but what do you think this is a sign for?
Oh, God. This is a return of some far-right organisation to Germany.
Yes.
Beware. Well, I'm guessing it's the snakes. So is it telling them there's a chemist's coming up ahead? Is this a doctor?
Yes, absolutely right. It's a pharmacy.
I like it.
A symbol is
either that or AC/DC. The rest of it are playing here soon. But yes, what is it? The
snake.
The snake around the stick symbol.
Yes. Or it could be a tap, possibly.
It could be a tap. Yes.
Drinking basin. But you're absolutely right. It is a sign for a pharmacy. Well done.
Fantastic.
Question number 7. Crossing over to one of the happiest places in the world, Norway.
Mm-hmm.
What is this a sign for?
Oh, brilliant. This is...
Real road sign. If you're from Norway, shout out the answer.
Yeah. Hello. I would say beware medical advice being given by a hipster from the late 1990s is available ahead. I'm guessing hospital coming up? Doctors?
It is a hospital, yeah. It is a hospital.
Very. Just why doesn't it just have a red cross with hospital or whatever, however they say it in Norwegian?
Yes, that would be a lot easier.
Rather than this guy who looks sort of like it could be almost an Islamic preacher. Very
with
strange.
a medallion on him.
With a medallion, a funkster. Actually, the little chinny beard as well. He could be part of our jazz band here at Car-Boyz.
Yeah,
the little chinny black beard. Yeah.
There you go. But if you're in Norway, that is the sign for a hospital.
Yeah.
So well done.
Very big man in a small hospital. Yeah.
Question number 8,
yes.
also in Scandinavia, this time in Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
What does this happy sign depict? What is it? What are we
Excellent.
approaching?
Drive as fast as possible to kill as many, you get points for pedestrians. And of course,
pedestrians mean
prizes. Beware of paedophiles wearing flared trousers trying to tempt you across the road. Drive into them as fast as possible. I would say school nearby, slow down. Yeah, school.
Not quite. It's that is actually a house, so it's you're approaching a residential area. So there you go. If you're in Sweden,
Brilliant.
That's what you would see.
Okay, I shall know to slow down next time.
2 more to go. Number 9, this is Italy. Italy has road signs, even if their drivers ignore them.
Yes.
What is this road sign for?
This is there's medieval helmets from the year 1460 are available for purchase at the roadside. It's a tunnel, a large tunnel coming up.
It could be something else. The Italians like.
Watermelon? I don't know.
Could be a bit rude.
What? A voo-voo? Ladies' voo-voo coming out.
But you're right. It is a tunnel.
Right. Okay.
And last but not least, in the Baltics, in Estonia, where you're likely to see one of these signs on the streets of Tallinn. What does it signify?
Oh, wow. Floating trams, beware of.
You're right. It's public transport.
It's beware cable cars. Look up tram wires, trolley buses. The larder plant that's discontinued now in Tallinn, throwing old larders out of a window on members of the public passing by. Go on. No, go on.
It is bus lane. Apparently that's the sign for having a bus lane.
Having a bus lane. Fair enough.
I'm not quite sure why there's an arrow coming out of it.
No.
Just
No,
say
I
bus
forgot
then.
it. Beware families with people carriers transporting Christmas trees all year round.
Yes, absolutely. Bonus point for you there. So there you
Thanks.
go. You've won the
Yay!
lifetime subscription to Car-Boyz.
Yes.
And the traffic cone as well.
Excellent. I shall wear the traffic cone on my head with pride. I do remember as a student stealing traffic cones, and they're very good. If you can get a light, they illuminate very well in our student house. So you just get a naked bulb and put the traffic cone on top, and the traffic cone glows in the corner of your house. It's really exciting.
Nice.
A sad life, but I was a poor student. That's it from the show. Don't forget to get in touch with Car-Boyz. We're back next week, hopefully, if COVID doesn't take us. Email us at car-boys@outlook.com, Facebook car-boys at Car-Boyz with all the Z's, Twittering car-boys at car_boys. We are Twittering. We're doing something. And of course, we're on Instagram at car_boys with 3 Z's. But there'll be no pornography on any of those sites at all, unfortunately. Probably good for your eyes. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.